What if the most overlooked move of the Lakers' summer is the one that flips tight playoff games in May? What if the guy some folks keep calling washed is exactly the nerve, the edge, the tone setter this locker room was missing? And what if the trio of new signings looks obvious on paper size length, toughness, but the real story is how one veteran guard lets LeBron and Luka play cleaner, simpler, faster basketball when it matters most? Here's the promise. In the next minutes, we're going deep on why Marcus Smart can absolutely stage a resurgence in Los Angeles this year, how DeAndre Ayton's arrival reshapes the spine of the defense and the shot diet of the stars, and why Jake LaRavia is a quiet swing bet the front office actually needed to make. We'll talk durability concerns and why context matters, the precise role Smart has to nail for this to work, the rotational ripple effects that stabilize the bench, plus the contract year reality that turns motivation into minutes. If you want a fair, no-nonsense breakdown with film logic and game flow, stay locked out. Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, your home for passionate, smart Lakers talk without the fluff. If you care about this team as much as we do, take a second right now to hit subscribe, drop a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown. In the comments, give us your early grade for the Smart Ayton LaRavia Hall, A through F, and tell us why. We read everything, we respond, and yes, subscribers are automatically enter our next jersey giveaway on the live stream. Let's set the table. The Lakers didn't nibble this summer, they went after needs. They signed DeAndre Ayton to anchor the middle, added Jake LaRavia as a versatile 3-and-D forward, and brought in former Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Smart to finally give this backcourt a true point-of-attack stopper with leadership chops and playoff wiring. Those are not vibes. Those are direct answers to recurring problems, from rim protection and defensive rebounding to guard containment and second-unit organization. I know the pushback already. Smart's been hurt. He's not the same athlete, and availability is a skill. Fair. The game totals the last 2 seasons were ugly. But context is everything. A chunk of that missed time came while playing for teams that weren't chasing anything meaningful down the stretch when you're out of contention. Medical staffs lean conservative, and vets don't get rushed back for meaningless March games. What changes here? Stakes, role clarity, and support. Smart arrives to a contender that needs exactly what he does best for 2028. High-leverage minutes, hound ball handlers, organize the second unit, and close lineups where one more stop swings the night. He had a clean summer to reset, and he's walking into a job description that amplifies his strengths instead of exposing his weaknesses. On the floor, the fit is almost textbook. Think about the possessions that have burned LA the past 2 years. Guards turning the corner too easily, wings getting comfortable in the rhythm pull-ups, and star guards forcing switches on slower feet. Smart's first gift is denial. He makes initiators catch the ball 3 feet farther out and 0.3 of a second later. That tiny delay is everything. It buys Ayton time to set the wall, it buys off-ball defenders time to tag and recover, and it buys LeBron Luka the chance to play as helpers instead of firefighters. The geometry changes fast when your first line of defense actually wins more often than it loses. Speaking of Ayton, this is the subtext that too many people miss. Smart's pressure is exponentially more valuable when the big behind him can contain, contest, and rebound without fouling. Ayton's size and mobility let you play drop when you want to, switch selectively when you have to, and even flirt with a higher line in crunch time because he can slide, show, and still protect the glass. That means guards can chase over instead of conceding pull-ups, and wings can stay home on shooters. Fewer spray threes against. Fewer broken floor scrambles. Cleaner possessions ending in contested mid-range rather than corner bombs. This pairing is intentional by design, not coincidence. Now, LaRavia doesn't need to be a star to matter. He just has to be sturdy. Hit the open 3, take the right gap when defense is top lock, and connect actions with one more pass. If he's a reliable 16 to 22-minute forward who can credibly guard 3 South and smaller 4 South, the rotation stress on the top 7 eases immediately. And if the shot pops for a month, he'll steal a game or two by himself. That's the math of playoff rosters. You need role players who don't lose their minutes. The front office signed him to be exactly that dot back to Smart, because this season quietly pivots on whether he can be the best version of himself for the role. LA needs. The blueprint is simple. Be the tone, not the headline. On ball, turn ball handlers, ride them into length, get hands-on passes, and blow up middle third actions that drag the defense into rotation. Off ball, play the cat and mouse, top lock shooters into help, peel switch when stars reject screens, and tag the roller with real contact so Ayton isn't boxing out two bodies. In late games, be the guy who calls weak early, points to the nail, and sprints to the next action before the offense gets to its second read. That's leadership that shows up in the film room, and in the fourth quarter box score as one more. Stop. If you're worried about the offense, let's be honest, the Lakers don't need Smart to be a 16-point scorer. They need him to be a zero-drama connector who dribbles purposefully, hits the pocket pass on time, screens for stars to force switches, and takes the open catch-and-shoot three without hesitation. He's a better passer than he gets credit for, and his willingness to be a screener in stack and Spain looks forces smaller guards to defend in traffic. That's how you buy LeBron a mismatch without throwing the ball into mud. That's how you get Luka a clean step back without four eyes on him. And that's how you keep defenses honest when Ayton short rolls into that soft elbow space for 12-footers and kickouts. Let's layer in the psychology. Narratives cut both ways. When a veteran spends 2 seasons hearing that he's past it, that doubt turns into fuel, especially for a player whose entire brand is toughness and competitive fire. Add the contract year angle one last meaningful multi-year deal to secure, and you have the most predictable outcome in the league. A locked-in, ruthless, detail-obsessed version of Marcus Smart, who knows exactly what success looks like in June. The Lakers didn't sign him to chase 18 shots. They signed him to bring order, volume, and teeth to the parts of basketball that decide series. And that's before we even mention that he's joining a core headline by Luka Doncic and LeBron James, 2 superstars who punish teams for any mistake you force. Rotation-wise, here's how it stabilizes. Regular season. Smart toggles between starting matchups that demand ball pressure and leading bench units that need an adult to steer. In closing time, it's feel an opponent. If a jitterbug guard is cooking, Smart's on the floor. If you need one more spacer, you downsize and trust LaRavia's corner 3 while Smart anchors the second unit's first shift next game. Vanderbilt remains a defensive hammer for specific wings, but Smart gives you a two-way guard option you can't scheme off as easily. And when everyone's healthy, the guard room finally fits into complementary lanes instead of overlapping weaknesses. Will there be warts? Absolutely. Smart will miss a handful of games. It's the NBA. There'll be nights where the threes don't fall, and the whistle is weird and it looks clunky. But here's the difference. Clunky where the defensive floor this high still wins on Tuesdays in Denver and Thursdays in Sacramento. That's what raises your seed and shifts first-round matchups. That's what gets you to mid-May with legs left. Let's talk Luka and LeBron for a second, because Smart's value really shines next to stars who see the game 3 steps ahead. With Smart on the floor, coaches can greenlight more early clock 45, cuts and second side triggers because they trust the guard to make the skip, make the pocket, or abort cleanly into a DHO without dribbling the air out of the ball. The result? Stars work less hard for the same shots, and the defense has to defend actions, not just people. That's the secret sauce of sustainable offense. It's not about invention. It's about repetition without predictability. Now, Ayton, if you watched him closely in prior stops, you know his best self is a discipline machine. Deep seals when he's got angle, two-handed rebounds in traffic, verticality without bite downs. Put that behind Smart and next to Luka LeBron, and you don't need him to be a 24-12 monster. You need him to erase mistakes and create second possessions. The two-man game with Luka will auto-generate 8 to 10 clean looks a night just off snake dribbles and short rolls. The LeBron-Ayton inverted actions will yank rim protectors out of the paint. And when Smart flips the screen and ghosts to force a miscommunication, Ayton is the release valve that turns chaos into 2 points. That's why this pairing made so much sense to the front office. What about LaRavia? Think Rui with a little more connected passing and a meaner closeout game. Slot him next to Smart in second units, and you suddenly got a group that can defend without fouling and move the ball without stalling. He doesn't have to be perfect. He has to be playable on time into space, loud in coverage, quick with the trigger. If he's a 36 to 38% corner 3 guy and holds up on switches for 2 beats, that's a playoff rotation wing. The front office wasn't chasing a savior. They were stacking adults. Let's address the elephant: availability. The only honest answer is plan for 65 to 70 games and build lineups that don't crumble when he sits. That's why the staff will keep the minutes diet reasonable, avoid back-to-back hero shifts, and trust the depth. You don't measure Smart's value by per-game volume. You measure it by how sharp your defense stays when the game gets loud. One Smart possession that turns a star's rhythm shot into a late-clock grenade can be worth 5 points of win probability. That's not hyperbole. That's how playoff math works. And if you're wondering about space and tax, remember, lineups are ecosystems. Pair Smart with 2 elite shooters and a rolling Ayton, and you've got plenty of oxygen. Use him as a screener for Luka to force a switch, and his non-shooter label becomes the exact reason a defender gets pinned at the nail-freeing cutters, unlocking skip passes and opening the weak side crash. This is the modern NBA. The label matters less than the role clarity. Quick mid-video check. If this breakdown is hitting, smash subscribe and drop your F grade for the summer. Tell us your biggest concern and the one thing you're most excited about with Smart in purple and gold. Your takes drive our next episode. Zooming back to the macro, the identity shift is the real story. The Lakers added a rim anchor who narrows opponent shot quality, a two-way guard who picks fights at the point of attack, and a wing who can survive in playoff space. That's not a splashy headline. That's how you build a spring team. And it puts Smart in the exact lane where he's always been at his best. The moments between possessions matchup calls, early tags, talking teammates through switches, buying your star just enough bandwidth to make greatness look easy. One more layer. Closing time. Picture it Smart, Austin Reeves, LeBron, LaRavia, or Rui, and Ayton. You can switch 2-man actions on the perimeter, sit and drop with help at the nail, and still have enough size to end possessions with 1 rebound. Offensively, you've got 2 connectors who won't panic, 2 stars who bend gravity, and a big who punishes smalls on the glass. Swap LaRavia for Vando or a hot hand shooter depending on opponent, and you've got a template you can trust from October through May. Now, let's be candid about the learning curve. Integrating 3 rotation pieces always comes with friction. There will be timing miscues, Smart calling for a peel switch while a wing expects a hard ice, Ayton flipping screen angles 1 beat too late, LaRavia hesitating on an open corner look. That's what October and November are for. The coaches will hammer the language, shorten the play menu, and let strengths breathe. The goal isn't to look perfect by Thanksgiving. It's to have a top 10 defense and a top 12 offense that hardens into top 8. By March. The path there is simple, but not easy. Win the possession game. Turnovers, glass, free throws, shrink opponent threes, and trust that star shot making handles the rest. Smart nudges every one of those levers in the right direction. Ayton is the governor that keeps runs from becoming avalanches. LaRavia helps you tread water on bench minutes that used to drown. It's not sexy, but it's how teams hang banners. For the skeptics who think guards don't change that much, look at the recent history of playoff swings decided by 1 or 2 point of attack stops per game. 1 fewer clean pull-up 3 for an opposing star. 1 extra deflection that turns into 2 free throws the other way. 1 late clock trap that ends in a bad skip. Those are the hidden 5 points that never show up on graphics but live forever in the film. That's Smart's lane. So, could Marcus Smart actually deliver a resurgent year in LA? The honest answer, it's more likely than the loudest narratives want to admit. Healthy runway, defined role, elite teammates, and a franchise that signed him for exactly the right reasons. That's the recipe. The Lakers didn't ask him to be 2019 Marcus Smart. They asked him to be 2026 championship caliber Marcus Smart, the one whose fingerprints show up on winning possessions, even when the points don't. And with Ayton stabilizing the backline and LaRavia giving the coaches one more playable wing, the fit is coherent in a way last year's patchwork never was. Your turn, Laker Nation. Do you buy the resurgence? What's your grade for the summer? Which closing five are you riding with in a Game 6 on the road? Drop your takes below. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the film breakdowns we've got coming. And share this with a friend who still thinks defense doesn't matter in 2025. Around here, we watch with our hearts and our heads, and we'll be right back with more.